And good morning, Buffaloes fans, Pilot Mound Hockey Academy Nation. Welcome to the return of the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. I'm your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth, and as always, the Buffaloes podcast brought to you by Ken Central Sports Cars and Memorabilia, Terrico, Mid-Ken Fasteners and Tools, as well as Gordy Tomlinson's brand in goaltenders. Speaking of Gordy, as always, he'll be joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast for another one here. Today we're also going to have Kurt Fortney join the show. We're also going to be showing you some footage from Pilot Mountain's cancer care event weekend. We're going to show you how many funds they raised specifically. Me and Gordy are going to talk about that as well, touching on that event a bit. Three teams that had home games for the Academy, making a big difference by raising that type of money. Yeah, any type of money helps against this deadly and awful disease and cancer. But yeah, we're going to be showing you the great footage of that event, as well as diving into some other stuff on today's edition of the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. Gordy Tomlinson joining the show next to talk about the past weekend of games for all four teams in Pilot Mound, as well as touching on a few other things here on the Buffaloes podcast for episode 10 in season 2. And so much to talk about. We've been away for a while, but it's great to be back here to start off with the first guest in the return of the Buffaloes podcast with Gordy Tomlinson. Gordy, there's been a lot that's happened on Pilot Mountain's end of things as well since we've last spoken. Let's start off with the girls because since going through their losing ways earlier on this year, they come off their best week of the season, winning a handful of games in a row and a handful of games in total. Take me through this team. We talked about them last time, how they've kind of changed up the system. Seems like it's paying dividends right now.
Yeah, and I know you're going to be talking. Hi, Graham, everybody out there. Sorry, I got right into this. You're going to talk to Kurt Fortin, I know after me and or before me, but whatever, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, our girls have been unbelievable lately. Going 6-1 since going 0-4 in Thunder Bay 3 weeks ago. So we've turned this thing around, and or the girls have, and the coaching staff has, and good on them. They figured this all out. I think the change started in the bus trip to Thunder Bay when they started to work on sort of an inverted 1-2-2 trap system of defensive hockey. And man, it has shut down the girls won four this weekend against the Thunder Bay Queens, who they in turn lost for 3 weeks ago. So it's been an amazing trip, and it's all about the system and the kids buying in and the coaching staff being able to deliver, the message, etc. And I know they've had some outside help and whatnot as well. They've asked for it, got it, and it's really done something, and it's charged them up. What we see there is less shots on goal, probably a third less shots on goal every game. So we're averaging around 45 in the girls' game. We're seeing 30 shots now. And when you get down to 30 shots, you're only seeing five real hard ones, maybe five or six or seven that are really goal scoring chances. And we're getting one and two. We had a shutout in the last game. And so, the scheme is working. And then on the other side, it opens a bit. The other team gets trying to do different things out of their normal realm. And of course, that turns the puck over. Bingo, we go down the ice and pop it in the net like there's nothing to it. And we're scoring goals all over the place, and everybody's scoring goals. That's not just one or two kids, and that's what was the case previous. Now it's everybody's chipping in, and it's wonderful. I can tell you, I got a goalie meeting last night. Those girls are smiling. There's two kids in the net. They're just not making any mistakes. Knock on wood. We don't want to jinx that. But at the end of the day, they're not letting any easy ones in, and not getting many tough ones. So low scoring games for us to play, and that's great stuff.
Yeah, and like you've basically mentioned, Gordy, I mean, these lower scoring games suiting this Buffaloes team well compared to if, they're letting the games get away from them on the scoreboard. And of course, like you mentioned, before on this podcast, they don't have one player in particular that's a star. They don't have a collection of stars, more of a collection of scoring by committee, right? And I think, like you said, not just one player, but all the players stepping up and getting scoring from all around the lineup, only going to serve this team more well and well as the season goes along if they're able to keep up that consistency. But he talked about it last time. This team played against Thunder Bay Queens. They ended up losing four in a row in Thunder Bay. Of course, Pilot Mountain had them in their home this past weekend at Blackjack Stewart Arena. But how huge is that for the psyche, especially knowing that you went out, failed to come home with a win, and talking with some of those girls, they were a bit disappointed as well to get these type of results and this type of success. You already spoke about it already, but huge for sure.
Well, winning is good for the soul apparently. And I tell you what, I got a text from one of our former goalies, girl goalies, Brooklyn Adams, yesterday and today, and we went back and forth a little bit. And the message has gotten all the way out to Prince Edward Island that we're doing this well. So she was excited for the girls, and she knows both Rain Hall and Sutter Reeves, our two Alberta goalies. They're from this all from the same area and southeastern Alberta. And so, yeah, that says it all. When the message is getting to Prince Edward Island, you know, things must be better, and they are. So it's great for the psyche. Kids have got a ton of confidence. I mean, we're going to play some games this weekend where we played two of the three teams we're going to play this weekend. We lost two in close games earlier this year. So the expectation is we're going to win these games, because we've got a new system and we're not going to give up goals and we're going to get more chances. So let's see what it does. But I'll tell you what, going in, at least we're thinking that way, and instead of moping and groping and hoping. But so we're going to be feeling a little bit better going into the three games this weekend.
You love to, feel and hear the optimism from this program. Great to hear the alumni too, getting fired up about it, and Brooklyn Adams and getting people, like you said, out in PEI interested. And yeah, for this U18 female prep team, back in action this Friday, 9:30 a.m. against the North Shore Warriors at Edge School in Calgary, Alberta. Speaking of the U18 female prep squad, them along with the U17 prep Buffaloes and the U18 male prep academy team put a lot of money up for this past fundraiser this past weekend for cancer care. Dive into that, a great initiative put on by this program, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, and these three games doing very well, raising some pretty good funds for a great cause.
Yeah, firstly, if you get a chance, Graham, there's a great video that we put together about a minute and a half that you might want to show tomorrow on the in the morning show that we put out. Yeah, it was great. The three teams, they baked, they cooked, they fixed, they cleaned, they did everything. And then they went out and won 9 games in a row. Or at least they won 6 games in a row. The U15s played some games, but they all won their games on the weekend and raised a little better than $1,600 for Cancer Care Manitoba and Hockey Fights Cancer. So, good on them to do these kinds of things. It's all part of, that, and when you think about it, it's all part of the community sort of development. We talk about the hockey development, but it's a maturing development. It's a community development. It's all about the players and about how they see themselves in their own community, in their new community. And remember, we've got kids that are from all over the U.S. and Canada, and some European boys, in this case, not girls, but and here they are, all working together to help fight this deadly disease and put some cash into the system and happen and with their energy and all that stuff. The games are exciting. They're more exciting because they're in the building, and it's just wonderful. So good on them to do those things, and good on our management to move them in that direction and have them do those things and get the benefit of feeling good about themselves and about their newfound community.
Yeah, for sure. And in all, like cancer, just maybe probably the worst disease, one of the worst diseases out there. And yeah, it's great to see it and great to see the passion and hearing about the passion from this all three teams throughout the fundraiser this weekend for raising those funds. Congratulations once again to the U17 Prep Buffaloes and the U18 programs, the female and male Prep Buffaloes Academy teams for raising over $1,600 this past weekend in general. Gordy, we're going to send it to a quick little break here. We're going to come back, talk about the U17s, U18 male preps, as well as the U15s here on the Buffaloes podcast with Gordy Tummelson here on gshow.ca. Welcome back to the Buffaloes podcast with Gordy Tummelson. Now, Gordy, he's not playing in the academy this year, but he's still making noise himself. We just talked about it, himself having a pretty successful weekend individually, and Carson Carroll scoring his first career WHL goal, being a big part of Team Canada Red U17 capturing a gold medal, the U17 championships. This kid continues to impress, Gordy. Must make folks back at Pilot Mound that much more proud seeing him continue to do these great things.
Well, we were fortunate to have him for 3 years in Pilot now 2 years as a U15 and then 1 year in the U17 program. And, he was destined to go somewhere pretty soon, but he just keeps making things happen. And I'm not sure he even knows that how to do this or what he's doing, but he scores his first goal in the WHL. Watched the highlight on the video after the game, and he got a big message from Craig on national NHL hockey and from Craig Button. So he made the Craig Button show. I mean, he's done pretty good there. He's playing WHL hockey as a 16-year-old, and he's a regular on the Prince George hockey team. So my gosh, this young man is just continues to do great things, and he's just the most humble kid in the world. So good on him to represent Canada, Manitoba, and certainly Pilot Mound for sure. And Cypress Hills is exactly where he's from. So we have to mention the small town that he actually comes from, and the farm that he and his dad and his sister, the hockey player's sister, and mom look after. So good on those guys.
Yeah, and I think that's what made that fit even more special with his success in Pilot Mountain was taking into consideration where he came from, right? And where he comes from in Cypress River, Manitoba. By the way, everybody, if you were wondering, he is eligible for the 2026 NHL entry draft. So shout out to Carson Carroll's Buffalo's alumni now, I guess, since he's only 16 years old only. Yeah, continue
Yeah.
to make some noise in his hockey career, but for his former team, the U17 Prep Buffaloes, they had a chance to play against Northern Alberta Extreme as well as Indigenous Sports Academy this past weekend. Really impressive showing against NAX. Solid 2 games with 2 wins in a row against Indigenous Sports Academy the past weekend, summing it up for the U17s.
Yeah, playing Nax that's always a tough game and whatnot. But we moved over and we got into the ISA guys, and they're always a tough uh, game for us either way. And we scored 6 times in both games and gave up three and four. But at the end of the day, we managed to win both those 2 games, and that was kind of really nice. I mean, quite often we play one of those games and we win, and then we lose the second one, or vice versa. In this case, we came out and we're good in both games, and full value for the victories. Got behind a little bit in the second game with ISA, and but took it to them later on, and so we're obviously thrilled that on Saturday and Sunday, all of our teams, we won 9 straight games.
Yeah.
Didn't lose one, and we'll talk about the other teams too as well. But and these were two of those 9 games. So good on our U17s too. Yeah, and they, along with the other teams, I'm going to say this again, I guess, with those guys, have found some confidence. And we talked about this at the start of the year, and we talked about being better than last year in all of our programs. And I think we're starting to see all of that now, and the girls have shown it. Our U15, our U17s in this case, winning both games on a weekend against ISA proves another point that we're coming along. So the program's getting firmer. The players are getting better, and we're getting a little bit more positivity out of the day-to-day that's going on up there.
Yeah, we're starting to I guess maybe not quite yet, but hearing a lot more about the successes that we were used to talking about with this Powder Mountain Hockey Academy programs before, the COVID-19 pandemic. That's, of
Yep.
course, that pandemic, something that affected this academy greatly, but great to see that, like you said, everything's seemingly starting to come together right now for this squad. But Nax, I mean, they're not as strong compared to other divisions record-wise in the U17 prep division, but still a very strong U17 program. When you're able to beat a team with, the type of name that Northern Alberta Extreme carries and the resume this team has had throughout their past, like you said, confidence and how huge was that, especially with that win against Nax coming at the start of the weekend.
Well, beating you just put any X in front of any one of their programs, you go, oh my God, we're going to get clobbered here. But no, they're not quite as good as they have been in the past, and that comes a bit as a bit of a surprise. However, much like Carson Carls and those young guys, they move up to junior hockey quicker now, so they lose a lot of guys that they might have kept along the way to the junior program and or going to U18 a year early possibly. And so when you lose those kind of players, you fill with the other guys, and they might not be quite as good. So maybe lucky for us, but good on us. We don't look at the crest on the sweater. We go and play against the other team that shows up, and we do our best. And beating them, well, that's always a pleasure, because they used to beat us pretty badly for the most part in the past, but. Yeah, we're starting to catch up, and so Little Pilot Mound is starting in its 10th year, is starting to make some noise, and boy, it's nice to see and nice to be a part of.
Well, yeah, and for this team, a bit of a more relaxed weekend coming up as they got a game against South Alberta Hockey Academy to close out a homestand, a four-game homestand at Blackjack Stewart Arena this Friday night at 7 p.m. We'll be talking about that game coming up next week in next week's edition of the show, Gordy. But we're going to move on to the U18 male prep Buffaloes, as we've talked about already. This team also coming away with a few wins this past weekend. A few, two to be exact, both against ISA, Indigenous Sports Academy, 7-3, and then 5-3. Offense there, defense there, solid all around game from this U18 squad, wasn't it, Gordy?
Yeah, and boy, I'll tell you what, this is our third year in this program, and we would have lost both of those games last year and the year before. So guess what? We're winning those games. More positivity. Yeah, I know that we talked when you talk to Anthony at the start of the year and the players as we go along, they talk about being first and champions and all those other things. And we know that's not going to happen, but they talk about the positive stuff, and it sticks with them even though they've lost some games previous, and we're expecting that, and they know that, and they get frustrated sometimes. And to be quite honest, they got a little bit away from themselves over the last few weekends. But this weekend, they came back together, figured it out, and they came back out in two strong team games. We had some good goaltending, some timely goaltending, as we always seem to get at this point in the season from all of our kids in goal. And we were able to put together two nice wins, pretty comfortable wins, and pretty proud of our kids. Being able to kind of continue that positive way of playing and sticking up for their teammates at times and doing all the right things. It's really nice to see.
Oh, for sure. And really nice to see this team coming away with not only two wins in a row, but wins after, kind of a heartbreaking loss on Wednesday where they were up, heading into that third period against RHA Winnipeg 6-4, giving up four unanswered. So you just spoke about it, frustrations, emotions, sometimes those get high. How huge was this, I guess, in terms of a statement weekend for this team? Like you said in the past, would have probably not won these games, but coming off a loss where they let it get away from them against RHA, came back and played two really strong, sound games, must give this group even more confidence, knowing they were able to get past that hurdle.
Well, sure. Statement games. I mean, there's statement games. You normally say that when you're talking about first place teams or teams that are going to championships and playoffs and all that stuff. This team's not that, but tell you what, statement games they were. Again, we would have lost both those games. We'd have figured a way to lose those games somehow. we'd have let in a bad goal, or we would have given up a breakaway at the last minute of the game, or lost in overtime or something in the past, or been beaten by 5 goals against a team that shouldn't beat anybody by 5 goals. So the statement is that they believe in one another. They believe in the coach. They believe in the program. They believe in the buffalo on their chest, and off they go to battle each time out. And that's what's been happening. And good on them. So well, we're excited for them, and I know they're excited for themselves as a group to be able to pull some of these wins out. And it's interesting because we've got two American goalies on
Right.
our team and on that team, and you'd never know that they were from a different country. They played for different teams ever before. It doesn't matter whether they're a different country. And we've got some kids from the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, and a guy from, I think, the Netherlands and Sweden. So we got guys from everywhere in that team, and they're all pulling together for one thing: the buffalo on the chest, and that's really neat. Hockey players are neat people. They come together and they form a bond, and that's it doesn't matter to you when you lose at the end of the year. It matters that you're going together as a team and as a unit, and they do that.
Oh, for sure. Playing as one, playing for one goal, and that being a play for the logo that's on that crest right in front. As the
Yeah,
old cliche goes, Gordy, play for the name in front and not the name on the back. A little error from me here, Gordy. It's the U17s that will be playing
yeah,
against BWC Academy, as well as Shawnigan Lake School and North Shore Warriors this upcoming weekend, as that'll
yeah.
go in Penticton, British Columbia. It's the U18s who will be taking on South Alberta Hockey Academy. Winnable game, of course. This team looking for another good effort. I'm sure we'll talk about that game coming up on next week's edition of the
Sure.
Buffaloes podcast, Gordy, when we get to that. But we'll end off with the U15 Male Prep Buffs, Gordy, a team that we haven't talked about so far as of yet. They went down to Medicine Hat, Alberta to play 3 total games, to not put things lightly. Got stomped in the first one, but bounced back in the next few, or am I reading the score wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. We lost the first game to Thompson, a Thompson team from somewhere in Alberta, I believe, and so that was that. Got that over with, and then went 4 in a row. The schedule had 4 games plus a potential fifth game if we happened to do well in the 3 games. Yeah. So we won 3 games in a row, or sorry, we tied 3-3 in the second game, then won 2 in a row, and then pulled out another overtime win, our second overtime win of the tournament, and won on the last day against the Weyburn Red Wings, a formidable name in the old Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League and whatnot. So won 3 in a row, and there you go. So they had a great success playing out in Medicine Hat, and long trip for them home. I was surprised, just to let the folks know some of the travel stuff that goes on here with these teams. These guys got home on at 2:30 in the morning on Monday morning, and went to school on Monday. So they all showed up at school the next day. That's part of the deal. You can have all the fun you want on the road, but you got to go to school. And this morning, this is Tuesday morning, and we're doing this in the afternoon. Our boys left for Penticton, so it's a 2-day trip, and U17 guys. So lots of bus travel, lots of homework on the bus, sleeping on the bus, and getting to know one another, bonding on the bus. So there you go. So it's a fun time for them. It's hard on them sometimes. Those kids, they come home, they got homework to do, they got laundry to do because they got to get on the bus again 2 more days and go again. So lots of fun.
Yeah, and Gordy, I'm just taking a look at the schedule and just reading it back. Yeah, 14-2 victory against the Notre Dame Hounds. I mean, this is probably the biggest margin of victory I've seen out of any Buffaloes team this season. And to do it against a team like Notre Dame, not sure if that was their AAA or Hockey Academy program, since they do also have a AAA team, but nonetheless, what does this mean for this U15 team, given that they were able to finish with 2 wins in a row after that?
Yeah, it's great. They know their competition. They know who they're playing against. And the neat part is that they're capable now at this it's our third or fourth year with this program, and again they're coming along nicely. That it's a new team every year. We don't get many players sticking around. So off we go. I guess we've got three or four players, Maddox Ramage and Cole Landerville and Gavin Hildebrand, to name three. But we don't get many kids sticking around. So it's a new team pretty much every year, and they've just come together. Like I got to tell you, our being a bit better quality player on each team. And having them blossom nicely into better teams as we'd hope they'd be. You can never guarantee that until the kids get together, and so the discipline, the community, the work ethic, the every day on the ice, the meetings in the evening, the video sessions they have, all of this stuff goes on every day. So there's a lot of work put into this, and it's paying off. Your number 10 is paying off. It's nice to see.
Well, we're here 10 years later from when this academy started with now four teams and a team or an academy that's on the up and up, as we've talked about here tonight with Gordy Tellison, who's been involved with the academy for a very long time, really since its beginning. He's, I'm sure, enjoying, this 10th year so far with the successes that have come Pilot Mountain's way. Gordy, we're going to talk more about successes and just about who's, making some noise and all that other great stuff and the past weekend of games, which are the future games for these teams at this moment in time. But all that good stuff coming up next week. Can't wait to get together with you again and talk some more Buffaloes hockey, Gordy.
Yeah, thanks, Graham, and really safe travels to all of our teams as the snow starts to come into Western Canada and whatnot. So travel will be a little bit more tense, but we've got great bus drivers, and everybody follows the rules of the road really carefully. So good luck to our guys. Thanks, Graham.
Gordy Tomlinson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast on G Show Productions, brought to you by Goaltenders, Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, as well as Terrico. Excited to have Gordy back on the show, as always, for another episode coming up next week to talk about the games that are coming up this week for teams in the academy. We've spoken about the U18 female prep Buffaloes, a lot of positivity, much like all the rest of the teams that we've talked about so far on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. But up next, we're going to hear from one of the coaches from one of the hottest teams in the academy right now. That would be the U18 female prep Buffaloes assistant coach in Kurt Fortney. He'll be joining the show next to talk about, how this team's process has been going, what the next steps of that process is that this coaching staff wants to see here moving forward into the next few months, and some other great stuff to do with this U18 female prep Buffaloes squad from Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. You're watching the Buffaloes podcast. Kurt Fortney joining the show next year, assistant coach of the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy Buffaloes U18 female prep program. It's assistant coach of the female U18 prep Buffaloes, Kurt Fortney, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. We're actually doing this the night before this podcast airs on this Wednesday morning. Kurt telling me that it's been a lot of questions about if school's going to be canceled tomorrow due to the first snowfall of the year here in Manitoba. Kurt, we're going to be getting that weather down here in Winnipeg, unfortunately. I was talking to you before the show. It was pouring rain all day here. How's the snow been like, the weather been like, seeing the white stuff for the first time this year?
It's been good. Yeah, basically every kid's been asking what are the chances there's going to be school tomorrow. I really hope there's no school tomorrow. Uh, mm, there's some kids that are already complaining that it's too cold out. They're not used to this weather yet. And we're like, just wait until later in the season. But no, it's been good. The kids are excited. They've been waiting for the snow too, most of them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've been waiting myself though, wondering when it's gonna come. It seems like it's finally that time. And yeah, for those that I guess aren't used to the Manitoba winter weathers, like this is nothing at all. Like there's been some winters where it's been absolutely brutal outside. And I know you, Kurt, coming from Alberta, you've experienced your fair share of cold winters in the past. But moving into this team, the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy Buffaloes U18 female prep Buffaloes, since the 0-4 result in Thunder Bay against Thunder Bay Queens, this team is 6-1, four straight wins this past weekend. This group, as I've been talking to Gordy Tummelson week in and week out about it, has adapted a new defensive type of style of play. Seems like it's working out well. Take me through what the change has been like. This team going 6-1 since.
Yeah, so yeah, we've gone 6-1 since then and five straight now. So it's more just what we've done is just kind of adapted and to the team and kind of we went back to a like a 1-2-2 kind of forecheck for most of the games there where so sending one hard and we told the girls, it takes some time to when you're coming together and haven't played with each other at all and learning all new systems that it takes around 20 30 games or a couple months to get that 2 3 months or 1 2 months to get that system and kind of start playing well, and that's kind of where we are. And this is kind of where we thought coming in the start of the year, like by the end of November-ish going in December, that we're starting to you know really play well and play those systems well, and then from here on out it's going to be more of that fine tuning of the details and the systems, where the first couple of months was just getting everyone to buy into what we're doing and getting those systems kind of under control, and everyone has an idea now. And then now it's kind of where we're going to start fine tuning so that we are come February that we're peaking just at that time, because we just don't want to peak in September, October, and then fall off by playoffs. So that's just kind of what we've been doing, and had some couple injuries here and there for the past month that we're getting over too, and some sicknesses. So that's been good, and the girls are really buying in, and it's really understanding now that they're getting that all the systems and forechecks and defensive zone kind of under control.
Yeah, and like you said, right on track. This team, learning from the past as well against Thunder Bay. I mean, a complete opposite, total opposite weekend from the last time this team played them, going 0-4. This time around, going 4-0. Talk about, I guess, the challenges they brought. Even though this group of girls won those games, they were close ones at that. This Queens team seemingly given this Buffalo squad everything they can handle on paper.
Yeah, they won the first game in a shootout and the second one in overtime, and then the next one was 4-2 and the last one 2-0. So all 1 2 goal games. They had a couple injuries as well, so we both were playing a little shorthanded at times, and people playing different positions, which is always good that put people out in different situations that they're getting used to, because you never know what's going to happen later on, or kind of see those different line combinations that we're able to use in these exhibition games. We put different people together, uh, telling the girls to go out and try new things and try different things just to get them comfortable doing other things. And this is where they, not that the games don't matter, but like they're not part of the league. So having them having that little bit more freedom, I think, to just go out there and just kind of play and see how everyone kind of works together and try new systems and try new things was really good. And we were able to get scoring from, I think, almost all three lines scored, and I don't know if any of the defense scored, but they were definitely part of the plays. So it's good to see that all three lines are scoring, and going to be carrying that into Calgary this weekend. So
Yeah, and we'll be talking about those matchups near the end of this interview here with Kurt. But I mean, you come into this hockey academy last year, not in the role you're in now. You're now an assistant coach, and I mean, in the past few years for this squad, it's been, I feel like a lot of the same narrative in terms of what's on ice on paper. Very good goaltending, a team that when they can buy in defensively has shown very well, but there's never really been that superstar up front or that group of superstars up front. It's always been scoring by committee. So it's been part of switching up this system, going more defensive. Just want to get it from a coaching's perspective, truly about just assessing and looking the strengths of what this team truly does present and to build the most off of that.
Yeah, so you start kind of with, you want to kind of play and create a system that with the players that you have. Obviously, we have a certain style that we want to play, and those are the girls that we're looking for when we're recruiting. And then when they get here, just adapting that style slightly to fit their roles, and because you never know when they get here how these girls are going to play together on a line, if it's gonna work or not, because they're all coming from everywhere and different coaching backgrounds and different levels they played. So just kind of then getting through those first couple of weeks and then months adapting and then specializing that the systems that we're doing now that is best for them, that's going to put them into positions to succeed. So that's just kind of from coaching sides, what you're trying to do is you have a vision of what you want everyone to do, and then just kind of slightly adapting as the year goes on and everyone starts to buy in and work hard. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
The season, just looking at it to start things off, a few wins in there, but a lot of losses. And then, of course, the most success this team has had in the past 7 games, of course, going 6-1. How big of a difference, I guess, has these last 7 games made for a group that, from every player I've talked to, has been optimistic, but of course, them wanting to do a bit more this year and winning more, I'm sure that this has been a huge weight off the team's shoulders, this recent streak.
Yeah, it's definitely huge for them to have that confidence that they can win games and score goals. That's always, when you're in those streaks or those slumps where you're not able to score and you're losing, it just seems like everything's going wrong and you're gripping your stick a little tighter and it's harder to score goals then and it just kind of spirals. So this is really good for the group, and we just told them that we just want to see slight improvements each game. We don't want to see, because of that one loss that we had in there, it was not a very good game at all that we played. And the girls know that. So we're just trying to make sure we're avoiding that huge dip now, that huge fall off in these next games. They just want to keep getting each game just a little bit better, tracking like our shots and turnovers that we've had, that each game and period is slightly better than the last one. We don't want to, see those spikes at this time of year or for the rest of the season for that matter. So every game's just kind of getting better from here on out. And yeah, that confidence is, it's good for them and big for them. And so we told the girls that they have to play every game. That first goal is probably more important for us compared to other teams because just give them that confidence that we can score. Sometimes you go down 1-0 right away, and when you're having trouble scoring, it feels like, oh, we've already lost the game. So just having that intensity right from the start and having those good starts is going to be really key for us.
Oh, no doubt about it. And the older I get, the more sports I watch. It truly is those little things in the preparation and the things outside of the stats, that really goes into that winning formula at the end of the day and going into that good process. And there could be times in this season, Kurt, where this team may face a bit of a losing streak, right? And like you said, it's all about the process. So, if what's gonna, I guess, the next part of the process for this squad moving forward, knowing that there's a lot more time left before playoffs in terms of where you want to see this group get to next in this process?
Yeah, well, I think it's now that we've had some winning streaks and we've had some losing streaks in there where we weren't scoring goals and some where we were scoring a lot of goals in a row. That now we've had that experience already. We've already faced some of that adversity. So moving forward and something's not going our way, we can just look back like, okay, we've been through this before. We've been down in a game and we're able to come back. We've lost a couple games in a row, but we were able to bounce back and play a good game the next day. If we still lose, that's one thing at this point of the year. We're okay with losing once in a while here and there, but we just want to see that compete night in and night out from the girls. And seeing those improvements and those little things that they're doing, and seeing things that we're working on in practice, and the structure is a lot better now. So just making sure we're maintaining that structure throughout the game, and we're having that compete that, I don't, if we have those things, that we're going to be in those games. So I'm not too worried about that. But if it does happen, we can look back and like, we've been there, this is how we scored goals before. We just have to make sure, just remind them of that once in a while, because it's going to happen. We're not going to win every game for the rest of the year from now. So there's going to be games that we're going to lose. So making sure that when we get there, we're still, looking at the little things that we're doing and seeing those improvements and the compete and the structure, and then saying that was a good game. We lost because of whatever reason. They're just more skilled, or they got a couple lucky bounces. That's hockey sometimes. So, and then when playoffs come, that's when we want to see those wins. But for right now, just continue to see the small improvements game in and game out.
Yeah, and I mean, more small improvements you can make, the more good habits you can make. Those could lead into some pretty great results down the line in this season. For this team coming up, going to be playing some opponents that they faced off against a bit earlier on this year. Of course, a much different Buffaloes team now. What's the excitement level like going up against teams that haven't faced them for a while, like I said, but maybe expecting this Buffaloes team not to show what it's capable of at this point, like you girls have been against them.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited because we have a chance to play these teams again and get some revenge against them. We lost the two teams that we played, we lost to both of them. So going there again, the chance to beat them this time and show them a little more how we can play as a team and our better game now. But then just again reminding the girls that we can't expect to win these games. You still have to. There's still very good teams. You have to show up to play, because if you don't, you were going to lose. So making sure that they know that it's not guaranteed wins. You have to come. You have to compete. You have to stay focused. You have to stay structured. You have to do the things that we're working on. Running our forecheck, running our D zone, communication, all those little things. And if we do those, then we'll have a very good chance to win. But we have to make sure that we're, you know, ready to play those games and not just thinking we're gonna come in and win, because if that happens, we're gonna lose, and that's what everyone in this league. Anyone can beat anyone if you don't show up to play. So just making sure that they're aware for that, and then having those high expectations that now we've played like this for the past few games, that this is now the standard, and each game is going to be a little bit better than the last, and that's the standard that's going to be going forward from here on out.
Well, you love to hear that, Buffaloes fans, from assistant coach Kurt Fortney. His team on a 5-game winning streak, haven't given up more than 3 goals in one of those singular games during this 5-game winning streak, looking to carry over this positive momentum into Calgary, Alberta at Edge School for 3 games this weekend coming up. Kurt, always a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time out of your evening for joining the show here.
Thanks for having me again.
Kurt Fortney joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. We'll just take that off the screen for now. But yeah, his team, winners of 6 of their last 7 games. Strong weekend against the Thunder Bay Queens club from down from the Thunder Bay, this time coming to Blackjack Street Arena, of course, instead of the Buffaloes traveling to the Thunder Bay to play them. And yeah, polar opposite in terms of the record. The Buffaloes getting their revenge on a very strong Thunder Bay Queens program. And yeah, just want to give you guys a little announcement surrounding Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy before we send it to another commercial break here, our first commercial break of the show, since the first 2 have been transitions. But yeah, PD camps, PD day skills camps from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. are going to be starting actually pretty soon here next week on November 25th, so on the Monday. Next one will be on January 31st, so not for a few months after. All of the age groups that can participate range from U9, U11 to U13. It's $75 per player for the day, and yeah, as you can see there, they show you everything you get, where it's going to be located, and the details of it. For more information and to register, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen, be sure to check out Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy's website for more details. We're going to send it to a commercial break here, and then we'll be back for some news from around the academy, showing you some video from the cancer care fundraiser that 3 of the 4 teams in the academy did in Blackjack's Arena this past weekend. Also going to take you through some other stuff coming up surrounding the academy here on the Buffaloes podcast for season 2, episode 10 here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Welcome back to the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, McKenna Fasteners and Tools, Goaltenders and Terrico, Gordy Tummelson and Kurt Fortney, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast this week for episode 10 and the return of this podcast to the network. Glad to be back here, and yeah, a lot has happened since we've done one of these Buffaloes podcast episodes, and a lot of great things happening down in Pilot Mountain. Not only are we starting to see teams have more success on the scoreboards, that process really paying off so far in the season that all 4 of these teams have been going through, but big thing that I think is so special about Pilot Mountain is how the players, the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy family, gives back to the community. And this past weekend, it was their Cancer Care Foundation event where they raised money for cancer care. The Cancer Care Foundation, as I should say, and it was the U18 female preps, the U18 male prep Buffaloes, as well as the U17 male prep Buffaloes, who all were involved in baking, goods and doing other stuff to support this great cause against a deadly disease. And great video put together by the folks over at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. But yeah, raising $1,659 for the Cancer Care Manitoba Foundation from, last Friday to Sunday. Congratulations to all teams that were involved in their home games at Pilot Mountain this past weekend for the U18 male prep and female prep Buffaloes and the U17s. Moving away from the cancer care news, going into, talking about the U15s, a team that I don't think we've talked about enough in this episode for what they did, in terms of what they did this past weekend. As we will show you now, of course, this team ended up doing pretty darn good in the Hockey Hounds tournament in Medicine Hat, winning the majority of their games. Some big wins in there as well. But it was Cole Landerville who ended up being selected as tournament MVP, top scorer, and player of the tournament in Medicine Hat this past weekend. Cole Landerville, along with Brett Bureaus, were also named to the All-Star team. So that's Brett right there beside Cole. Cole is the one with all the hardware in that left picture there. But congratulations to Cole and Brett on their phenomenal weekends, and to that U15 squad in general on a phenomenal weekend for themselves. Gotta mention this guy right here as well. Shout out to Carson Carrolls. We mentioned it earlier and talked about him with Gordy Tummelson, but scoring his first career WHL goal. He was also a huge part of Team Canada Red winning gold at the U17 National Championships. And, Craig Budden had some kind words to say about the Cypress Hill native in Carrolls. One moment, folks. Just realized it's sideways here, so we're gonna fix that right away. There we go. Should be good now. Bear with us here, folks. Just realized I'm muted, but yeah, Craig Budden, with some kind words for Carson Carrolls, and the Cypress Hill Manitoban continuing to impress here in what's been a remarkable minor hockey career so far, and of course a memorable international career so far, I guess, already, being a huge part of Team Canada, their red team at the U17s, in terms of winning. Carson playing a huge part in that. So yeah, gonna be interesting to see, where exactly Carson's gonna end up in next year's NHL draft, as he is a prospect eligible for the 2026 NHL entry draft, as mentioned earlier in this episode. But we'll end off with talking about the upcoming games for the teams in the academy. The U15 male prep Buffaloes will be in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, to take on the Notre Dame Hounds on Saturday and on Sunday. The U17 Preps will be heading to Penticton, British Columbia, to take on BWC Academy, Shawnigan Lake School, and the North Shore Warriors. As for the male U18 Prep Buffaloes, they'll have one game coming up this Friday against the South Alberta Hockey Academy squad. That game is going to be at home in Pilot Mound at Blackjack's Stewart Arena for this Buffaloes U18 male prep squad. And as for the female U18 prep Buffaloes, as talked about with Kurt Fortney, they'll be having a few games on the schedule coming up this weekend and looking to carry in that positive momentum that they built up over these past 7 games into matchups against the North Shore Warriors, the St. Mary's High School squad, and the Okanagan Hockey Academy Black team. All games will be played at Kyle Stewart Alumni Arena, I believe, but nonetheless, games will be played in Calgary, Alberta for this U18 female prep Buffalo squad as the 10th year anniversary of Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy continues to roll on here, and we continue to roll on with another edition of the Buffaloes podcast coming up next week for episode 11 on Wednesday. But for now, as we stay in the present, I'll be back after this next transition to end off with some final words on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. Well, you made it to the end of this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. Special thanks to Gordy Tummelson and Kurt Fortney for coming on and being the guests once again in this week's episode. Special thanks to our sponsors and Make Ken Fasteners and Tools, Terrico Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for sponsoring another edition of this show. Special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in as well. Hope you enjoyed this one, whether you're a returning viewer or a new viewer here. Leave a like, share this out, spread the word about this podcast. The more eyes we get on it, the better it is in terms of getting attention on these athletes from Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, coaches as well, and just in general, you help and support us is a huge win for us. And, if you're able to turn on notifications as well after subscribing, which you definitely are able to do that, you'll be notified about when episodes like this come out, which, of course, the Buffaloes podcast airs every Wednesday. Like I said before, the last and final transition of this show, episode 11 will be airing on Wednesday next week, 8 a.m. Central Time. We'll have the guest list for that episode for you either the morning of the Wednesday that episode airs, or a bit earlier in that week, either on the Monday or on the Tuesday. Details about the upcoming Buffaloes podcast and all of our other content will be available at the beginning of next week on gshow.ca, on G Show Productions. We have all our live game broadcasts, our schedule up for that, but not our podcast. So check in every week for that on our website, as we try to post a schedule of what's coming up every week for ourselves. We also post on social media, so be sure to check us out there, as we'll be posting promo and posts for the upcoming week of content that we'll have next week on the network. And it should be a good one, as haven't produced much content here in November as of yet, but we're looking to finish this month strong. We hope you're here to be along for that ride as we attempt to do that. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth, once again giving you the salute, peacing out, and saying so long, everybody. Until next Wednesday, have a wonderful weekend out there. Stay safe, stay warm, as well, as winter seems to be officially coming here in Winnipeg and in Manitoba in general. As Kurt said, there's already been some snow down in good old small town Pilot Mountain. But yeah, stay safe, folks. Enjoy all the great hockey coming your way. And until 7 days from now, we'll see you then. Until now, Tyson Unrow is going to take us away with the Buffaloes podcast intro and outro, the March of the Buffalo. Take care, everybody. So long. Thanks for tuning in.